Welcome to Part 3. In Part 2, I pointed out how the imposition of the explicit curriculum in most schools creates a detrimental hidden curriculum for some people. The hidden curriculum of schooling is caused by the interaction between two things that are not directly observable in the classroom. The first is all the different levels of policy, from the feds to the state to the district and throughout the school, that guide the behavior of everyone in the system. The second is the hidden cognitive mechanisms inside all the human brains in those classrooms that manage each person's motivation and attention in response to other people's behavior. Professor John Marshall Reeve, now at Korea University, wrote a review of the literature about all the different reasons why teachers tend to thwart the primary need for autonomy by being controlling instead of autonomy supportive. At least 5 of the 7 reasons can be attributed to the hidden curriculum. When humans are put into situations in which their primary needs are regularly thwarted, they are in harm's way and fully justified in taking action to avoid that harm. However, taking action to avoid that kind of harm in K-12 schools usually means disengagement. Students physically disengage from school by dropping out. They emotionally disengage from the classroom by failing to achieve, or they intellectually disengage from particular subjects by faux-achieving, which means doing an absolute minimum of work to get whatever symbols of achievement they deem necessary, which also frequently prevents them from attaining mastery of that subject. Teachers become disengaged first from themselves through stress, then from their classes through burnout, and then their school through quitting. All these forms of disengagement are caused by the hidden curriculum of how those brains are behaviorally interacting with each other in the context of the policies used to guide that behavior. The central problem of the entire school system today is, I conclude, motivational deficiencies. A large body of peer-reviewed scientific research shows that the mainstream school system fails to support students to develop appropriate motivations. I am confident the same is true of teachers because they have the same primary human needs as their students and are subjected to most of the same policies that provide behavioral guidance. Like nutritional deficiencies, these patterns of motivational deficiency are indicating that certain primary human needs are not getting met. The cause of these deficiencies is a lack of nurturing, where nurturing is simply the support of primary human needs. Without intending to, policies at every level currently tend to reinforce disengagement, leading to symptoms of motivational deficiency. The motivational deficiencies are the result of the hidden influences of policies that inadvertently reinforced need-thwarting management behaviors. Policy change towards reinforcing nurturing management behaviors is the necessary leverage point for curing the systematic motivational deficiencies in the K-12 system. With a proper policy framework in place, we will be able to transform the hidden curriculum to nurture both teachers and children by supporting their primary human needs. And we don't have to reinvent this wheel. It turns out that in medicine, it was effective practice that led to better theory, which changed both public health policies and medical practice. In education today, practice has led theory as well. Fortunately, attitude-first education has been practiced for decades in certain kinds of schools throughout the world. As an example of the relative efficiency of attitude-first education, Daniel Greenberg, who has been teaching math at Sudbury Valley School in Framingham, Massachusetts since 1968, says that he is able to cover the entire 1st through 6th grade math curriculum over only 20 weeks, with an hour a week of instruction with children of a variety of ages who have asked for that course. You see, at Sudbury schools, which are an example of democratic schools, the hidden curriculum is the only required curriculum because all lessons are taught only at the request of students. It may or may not be practical to replicate that particular school model in any given community today, but the basic principle of attitude-first education is universally applicable and can be replicated at scale. My thesis research on patterns of motivation in school settings included the Village Free School, also a democratic school, and the Village Home Education Resource Center, which bears more operational resemblance to a community college than to a Sudbury school. Despite being organized in a very different way from Sudbury or Village Free, it still manages to implement an attitude-first K-12 education to good effect. How the schools are organized does not seem to be the common denominator amongst nurturing schools so far. The common denominator seems to be self-directed learning. And to anticipate a common question, other studies have shown that self-directed students are normal kids and go on to lead normal lives. So what we know is that school policies that reinforce alienation, controlling management practices, and/or the dumbing down of the work that needs to be done will inevitably fail to fully educate a higher proportion of students because those policies contradict human nature as minimally specified by primary human needs. What we need is a system guided by policies that will reinforce human needs support for everyone in the system. My book, Every Parent's Dilemma, Why Do We Ignore Schools That Nurture Children?, proposes a policy resolution to create the leverage point needed to protect nurturing behaviors from misguided efforts to exert more need-thwarting control over teachers and students. My next book will deal with the larger question of redesigning the education system for large-scale implementation of attitude-first principles. Now, if you're getting what I'm saying, then you realize that I am presenting a serious indictment of most schools in the world today. And if your identity is tied to one of those schools, you might take my criticism personally. But please, rest assured, the problem is not you. It is the system and how it has been organized to shape your behavior in ways that you are not even aware of. The 4th episode in this series is entitled Don't Despair, It's Not Your Fault, and I will discuss taking responsibility for the hidden curriculum.